நம்முடன் வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன். குரு வாழ்க குருவே துணை. Salutations to mother, salutations to father, salutations to Guru. May we realize the presence of the Guru in his physical absence and let him conduct this. So friends, last week we talked about basic concepts of absolute space and magnetism and how it impacts. So it's a natural extension. This topic would be organic thinking. Is a fancy word I chose, but it is essentially what the Vedas scriptures have been teaching us. So organic thinking, organic is just nothing but it refers non-violence in this case. That's all. So it's basically what Maharishi has in his philosophies decoded from the scriptures and in his own way, which is an axiomatic shift to what we are thinking today. So that's what we're going to talk about, how it impacts our existence, our thought, word, deed, what we eat, everything is related. So without further ado, we'll come on to the next. So we're going to talk about these things today: fivefold moral culture, twofold moral principle, food and its sign transformations, and then detail about some organic food. We talked about a little bit in the earlier session as well about twofold moral principle and all that. So these are going to be kind of a constant thing that we'll be having in these discussions, so that we remind ourselves a good frame of reference always to go back to that, because they don't change. Truth is always simple, so it's better to hear it many times so that it gets registered. So we'll keep hearing this. These are again pretty detailed summary of how we should think and live. It is scientific. Maharishi simplified this as a twofold moral principle, but this is the original 5 things Maharishi has explained. First thing is it's about self-reliance. You have to be on your own without causing harm to anybody. You have to don't be a liability to the society. You work on your own and get your earnings and live. That's the first thing. And second thing is about not causing harm to anybody, right? To the body or mind, in the present or in the future. The third thing is about not killing any living being, right? So that's non-violence, and food that you eat, it directly hits you there. That's a principle. And then you should have a respect for the living freedom of anybody, or a property or possession. Respect anybody's living freedom. Do not go and interfere. As much as possible, let them live their own life. So you can guide, but the freedom, everybody is born. It's all conscious of everybody, an energy particle. Everybody came from the same source. Who are you to go and control that? Because everybody is one and the same family. So let that experience, let that consciousness live through the physical body and experience its life. So do not go on that. And this is about helping people to the extent possible with love and compassion. And this is the Nishkamya karma, which is without expectation. You go and help others with kindness. That's the true nature of consciousness, that doesn't expect anything in return. It always provides. So these are like essentially basic principles. If you look into it, it is science behind it. If you can create a new science based on these 5 principles. Any questions on this slide?
Organic science.
Organic.
Organic science.
Yeah.
I do have. Number 3.
Okay.
So how does the Guru defines living being, not to kill living being? What is living being in his perspective?
Perspective is the animals, right? I mean, if you can, everything is a plant, everything is a living being, right? But in this reference, it's just if you can eat without killing animals and eat the plant-based food, I think that's how we have to exist, right? And one other thing is that the plant-based food have less karmic imprint because let's say when you cut a plant, what he says is the pain goes to the root and it subsides into the earth. So the imprint is not carried away, so it's safe to eat that. But whereas the animals, it stays, and when you eat that, it goes with you. The karmic imprint is there in that energy particles, goes with you when you eat. So it's not going to help you to carry out other things here.
So would the egg also categorize under the same animal being, right? Because egg is life and it is not attached to a root, obviously, right?
Right. So there are different people who says it's okay, it's under certain circumstances, but typically in a spiritual journey, it's a tamasic food. Basically, it gives you laziness and all that. From a flat perspective, even though it has proteins and all that, but it's a tamasic food. It won't help you in your spiritual journey. So there's a natural transition we have to make towards sattvic and a little bit of rajasic in your existence to be able to live in this earth, but you have to gradually transcend. So we'll talk more about those type of.
Okay, yeah, because the reason I asked it, I'll have a follow-up question maybe after
Yeah.
the session.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he said two more reasons, right? First he said you are killing it. You are also stealing other people's life, and it's freedom to live.
Yes, living
So
freedom.
it causes 3 issues, that's why he's saying.
Anything else here? Okay. So this is kind of a compressed version. I mean, it's all. If Maharishi compressed it in a way that hey, it doesn't initially, people might think hey, if he says hey, don't eat meat, nobody's going to care about spirituality. This is something it's a kind of implied. It's implied that you should not cause harm to anyone. So that principle is implied here. So it's kind of a superset. I in my lifetime will not cause harm to anyone physically or mentally. That's organic thinking. You're not harming anybody. Render all possible help to those who are suffering. That's charity. Right? And this axiom needs to be applied at the thought level. Any thought that comes to you, if you apply this axiom, you analyze it, your thought process will change. I guarantee you that if you practice this axiom, it will change your way of thinking. So it is the place where it starts. Anything else comes after it, right? If you analyze and apply it here, and the rest of it follows through. And this is Jiva Karunya, right? I mean, Varnakar calls this Jiva Karunya, so I borrowed that term from there. But this is we help others without expectations, with love and loving kindness. That's Jiva Karunya. So, and this is another fundamental for organic thinking is nature. There is no problem. Nature has no problems at all. Only the problems in the mind. This is a quote from Maharishi himself. Why we'll talk about that. So, as we talked last time, like from absolute space, everything emerged. Inherently, with absolute space, there is ego. That's a quality that comes out, hey, that it's part of the consciousness itself that it is important, and it is it is supreme, and gradually that kind of developed over evolution, and everything is also mind kind of a feeling with that consciousness. So that is part of the evolution, and it transferred into generations of species and animals, and finally to human beings. So these two things lead to these kind of characteristics in the human mind. So human mind will have these characteristics, right? These are the 6 things. In Sanskrit, is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. This is 6 temperaments of the mind. So greed, state of mind, greed, anger, miserliness, immoral sexual passion, inferiority, superiority complex, vengeance. So these are the 6 temperaments. So greed, how do you there are practices Maharishi kind of explains to how you can kind of transform these characteristics into something which is the characteristic of the absolute space itself, be able to transform greed into a fulfilled mind, transform anger into patience, miserliness, don't keep everything for yourself, just give it, generosity, immoral sexual passion to chastity, respect for other sex, inferiority and superiority complex to be able to modesty. Everybody is equal, so respect and treat people with that. Because everybody came from the same source. Why do you think you're superior? Right? So that's modesty. And then forgiveness. So vengeance is kind of magnified anger. So you keep it for a period of time, anger that turns into vengeance, and that's what I think today's movies 99% of the time they show. So if you want to know what vengeance is, that's that. Killing people and all that. Grudge. So forgiveness is something that is a better alternative to kind of get rid of that. So these are kind of ways to kind of purify the mind. And these will come by practice. Like if you apply those axioms, it will come with practice at the thought level. And when you do this meditation, the introspection practices for how do you neutralize anger, how do you kind of moralize your desires, what do you want, so you won't have greed, you will have only what you need, you won't kind of want big things that you don't need, that you are not capable of buying, or those kind of things will start when you moralize your thoughts. And anger management, Maharishi talks about you neutralize anger, don't control anger, you neutralize anger by sublimating that thought of anger by, let's say, if you are angry with your wife, you bless that person many times, that thought gets sublime. That's superimposition technique. Other one is about you kind of the auto suggestion helps you. Hey, I won't get angry with that person again. So that same thought will come back, and when you're getting angry with another person, will come and say awareness. Hey, that strong thought will come and say don't get angry and prevent you from that. So there are techniques to kind of take you from this state to being a state which will help clean your imprints. So Maharishi
says to control anger is we have to understand that all the problems that you are facing in your life is because of what you did either this way or previous way or your ancestors. As long as you know that the problem is not the other person, the problem is not the world,
right,
then you naturally you're angry.
Any questions on this one?
So basically, if you acknowledge a thought, then it's going to get expressed. Like you're saying, like if you get mad at your wife or something, and you have so much rage, like you're building up so much rage. So you have to practice just deprecating that thought.
Yes, so deprecating the thought by superimposition, right? It's like a stack. You have bad thoughts accumulated. You put the good thoughts so that they suppress and finally don't come out. Another other technique he also suggests is kind of you kind of when that auto suggestion, right? So you kind of say that I should not get angry with that person. That thought comes and you'll be able to kind of reject it. You know, the awareness will be there. You'll just see the other through, and you will not exercise that. So that's awareness. Your meditation combined with this introspection will give you the energy to deal with this. It's not. It has to be everything together. If you just meditate, if you don't introspect, there's no use, because you're meditation is nothing but like you're controlling your senses, right? You're storing your biomagnetism within you, but you got to exercise that properly with introspection, so that you direct your thoughts. You have the power, you give the energy to the thought, and it will be more effective.
Practice.
Yeah, practice that. Because that when you go to lower frequency and create a thought, the power of that is huge, and the reach is huge. It will help you.
If I understood initially what you stated about the ego is quite different perspective than what I've been all along hearing about ego. Meaning, ego is about recognizing you different from the absolute space that is in you, meaning two different entities. Ego is considered a bad thing, but really ego in purity is nothing different from the absolute space. That's what you were trying to say. Ego is important, is in the absolute space. In that space, really ego is the total space, which doesn't differentiate.
Yes.
Between, right?
When evolution starts, right, it gradually builds up and it tries to differentiate.
Right.
That's the problem. And then it wants to kind of also accumulate and everything is mine. That's where it starts.
If you understand it is everybody is from the same space,
Mm-hmm.
then you will not find out the difference between you and others.
Yeah.
So, if you get into that understanding, you can lose the ego and accept everybody as they are, and you may not think like you are a superior or you are having more power.
Well, it's a different definition of ego. Ego of purity, no harmless ego, right? Which is 100% pure.
And I mean, you have to be in the state, right? It's,
Right.
you might be in the state for like a few seconds and then you come back to it, right?
And also ego, the definition I think Sripad was saying was that ego is as an attachment. You think because you are from India, you are from this state, so anything that you have attached, this is my country, this is my house, that is also ego. This is me.
Right.
When you started, that is the ego. So if you have a hold all these things, you can't merge with that outside of space.
So if you're 100%,
It will become a blockage that instead of helping, even though it helps us to get you self-confidence and avoid the inferiority complex, too much of it is going to stop you merging with the God. That's why he says to avoid ego is one of our three impurities. So we have to get rid of.
And these two things, right, control of mind or material and everything is mine. Maharishi says that they are kind of coupled. They produce 6 children of these things, just for a funny way.
So ego becomes the root cause for all this.
Yes,
That's
he is
what
the root
it is.
cause.
So one can transform into another. But that, for example, anger might go away at some time. It might transform into vengeance.
Yes, anger, if not controlled, it becomes violence.
For
You
example,
have to start with the thought. If you start with, Maharishi says that if you start with the thought, these things will be kind of, you won't have a problem there. If you start at the thought level, breathe, everything else goes away. You know? So if you have these things and if you kind of allow it to happen, these things will happen. These are 5 bad sins. lying, stealing, murder, gambling, rape and prostitution, these are all happening. We see it in everyday newspaper and all these things. If you look at the root cause of all these is these 6 temperaments. And remember the statement, there's no problem in nature, there's problem in the mind. That's another axiom. Okay, now let's come back to a different topic. I just took some small subjects of so that we can go deep into it, because whole Vedatrium topic is a huge thing, which is all about organic thinking. It's just, I'm just taking a subset to get some more perspectives. Let's talk about food. Food is important because of these things, right? Eventually, food becomes you. That's why organic thinking is important here. So food that you eat becomes into 7 things. This is 7 dhatus in Sanskrit. Right? Juice, you eat and then it becomes a juice, and then it transforms into blood, into fat, muscle, bone, and then the bone marrow. The bone marrow, inside that we have the cerebrospinal fluid in modern sense they call it, but actually it is much more than that. It's the sexual vital fluid, according to ancient science. Right? So the sexual vital fluid, taken Kayakalpa Yoga, it contains all the energy particles. It is the stock force. When we are born, we are given, we have got a stock force of SPF from our parents. This SPF, there is addition to it, the food you take. Every day, the stock force is there, you will lose it by your everyday activities, because what happens, the energy particles transforms into biomagnetism, pressure, taste, smell, the 6 transformations will happen, and you have to refill it. Food is what you take. So that's, if you have, like, let's say 50%, 100% is the initial stock, and over a period of time, the stock reduces, so you will have to keep up with it by food. So food and other sources to it, planetary sources are there. So you lose it, constantly lose it, and you're going to fill it, but it's not equally proportionate. Sometimes you lose everything, that's when death comes. But until then, eat the food, right?
Make it very simple.
Yeah, for your functioning. So SPF contains energy particles. It transforms into magnetism, 6 transformations, finally into pressure, sound, taste, smell, light, smell, mind, right? 6th transformation. So mind. So food you eat will become the you, pretty much. So that's, so that you will have to see the connect now. Food becomes you. So food becomes you, right? So which means the 6 temperaments can be in action based on the food that you take. All these qualities which are there, impurities, the 6 temperaments, will come from the food as well. It's not, doesn't always come from your parents, by your prarabdha karma, sanchita karma, through your parents. It also comes from the food you take. So those the 6 impurities that we talked about will come from the food. Plain, simple logic, right? Because of the fact that everything finally comes into being a biomagnetism of the mind. The food that you eat becomes the mind. It is how it works. So the impurities have to be kind of managed there as well, right? So the food that you eat today has a lot of chemical impurities. Fertilizers, they're used, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, various synthetic substances, and since the problem is in the mind, we are greed. We want to mass produce, we introduce genetically modified organisms. So that's greed there, right there. Pesticide also there is greed that they want to make money. I mean, it was started during the World War. During the World War, they unused gunpowder were used to kind of make. After that, use pesticides, and that is the root cause is anger now there, and greed is there. So all these things will come in your food products. And if you milk and poultry and all that, they use a lot of synthetic hormones. They're all against nature. And meat by itself, I talked about that it has all the common imprints. We need it, you will consume it. We will become that. All those become the mind. That's why we have, as a process of evolution, so we have this because we came from animals only in the past. So those impurities are already there. Now why are we eating that? To kind of stop our progress to be pure, right? You're defeating the purpose if you do that. You're not going to be self-realized if you kind of continue to do that sin. It's not going to help you. That's why a lot of sages emphasize this. People don't understand it, but it's really important that we don't consume that treated animals meat. So those are all like born out of impurities. How it is impacted, right? Like it's impacted in the soil. All these impurities are there in the soil. All Panchaputas are there, right? Without that, creation cannot happen. So it goes to the plants, right? And animals too. The animals eat that product. They have it too, and it goes to the meat as well. So it's a food chain. You start plant eating cows, get that. When you kill a cow, there's impurity there. And you eat that, it transforms into yourself. So even if you're a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, the degree probably is different, but the source of impurities are there in the food chain, start of the food chain, in the cultivation itself. So the impurities have to be stopped at the Panchaputa level. Only then your organic thinking, all these things, even if you are a really good man, these things will come and stop you from your spiritual progress. Because the food you eat becomes you. Whatever you do, compensate. You can do like charity, you can do all those things, it will compensate, but you're eating the food produced out of violence. It's going to really harm you. Because as you know, there's a lot of diseases that's been happening. A lot of new diseases that we never know are happening in this century. More or more food related. There is no kind of scientific proof yet, but you'll notice the rise in the number of diseases. So
many times scientific proofs are withheld, and some of these GMO, for example, even EPA scientists and FDA scientists reported differently, but the management was coming from the Monsanto, etc. And probably know very well. It's a revolving door, and they influence the decision and held back. So sometimes even the reports are held back. The truth is held back.
Yeah. Because there's greed as well there, right? So the companies control all these things. So, but the good thing is this movement is starting back, to re-establish the ancient science. In this country, they probably don't know about our science, but they are still supporting. It's very good that it's happening in this country. So you have to take advantage of that. So I started taking organic stuff, and it changed a lot of things in my health. I'll share that experience. So basically, I had this reflux problem, which is it's not acid reflux. It's kind of non-esophagus reflux. They don't know what it is. I went to like 3 different gastroenterologists for like 3 years. Nothing happened. So finally, kind of went to ancient ways, just stopped all these food products which are not organic. At least only ate organic food. I'm not saying it's not completely gone, but previously what I used to eat, now I'm able to eat everything without any medication or nothing. So it has a marked difference in your health, because it's pure things incoming, and it transforms into mindfulness. It also helps in your thinking too, because it's sattvic and it's pure, so it will help you in your thought process, because it becomes a mind family.
Just add one point to that. Actually, add me to the same list, similar experience. But one other point that looking from the other side, when I was not, and somebody told me about this, and I'm so thankful to him. I was thinking, organic is expensive, can't afford and all that. But when in my case, the way I thought is, okay, I was eating this, I was eating that. Actually, I don't need those things. So you buy only what you really need, and then you don't spend on things that you don't need and make somebody else rich who is doing the bad things for you. So you have the oath by not buying those bad items and make them rich. So that's another way you have the control. And also cost-wise, it is not really as cost as you would think, because you're reducing by not eating some things.
Yeah, and the prices have reduced a lot since when you go to stores 5 years back, and now the price have drastically reduced, and the number of products have been increased. So you have to create the demand. I think that will still reduce the price.
And even Kroger and many shops started carrying non-GMO
Yeah.
products.
I like the mantra after you said it.
Okay. Yeah, you will feel a difference. That is eating that food. That's one. So we talked a little bit about this. In Ayurveda, they classify food based on these characteristics: sattvic, rajas, and tamasic. Sattvic is just kind of fruits and vegetables. Typically, this is the Ayurvedic definition, like some sweet tasty foods are like sattvic. Easily digestible. So sattvic food is easily digestible. And they have a high state of consciousness. It's higher state, because those sattvic foods are very easily digestible, easily transforms into the 7 states. Not hard to go, because if you look at the 7 transformation, they have to happen really quick and for the effective function of the body. So they are pretty good. That's why babies. If you look at babies and saints, people equate babies to God. Why? Because they carry less imprints from their parents. Like their imprints are there, but they have not accumulated imprints by more actions yet. So that's they're closer to God. In that sense. And also when they eat food which are sattvic food, and that transforms into the mind. So that's why they are kind of pure. That's why people reference in art. If you look at our grandfathers, they would be telling you they are gods. So that's what it is. Sattvic food is kind of saints and refers to those people. Rajas is kind of next level, like fried and spicy foods associated with these tastes, bitter, sour, pungent. For householders, Rajas is important. In our typically in our South Indian food, you have a good balance of sattvic and Rajas food. It's for high energy, because saints, they don't need a lot of energy, they remain in a peaceful state, but we have to have the energy to do our work. So high energy food is Rajas. So you have to have a nice balance. There's a food science that was there in India, and it's kind of fragmented, so we'll have to kind of reorganize it, and then it can be on a condition basis. It will be differing. If you have a particular disease, the food that you take is a little different. So those kind of things are all there. When your grandma or grandpa, they talk about these things, just don't kind of ignore that it is science, and they may be fragmented, we have to organize it, but they are not total. That's what I feel that now after, I mean, this realization comes only after reading Swamiji. You know, it's very, because you have the science background that he kind of gives you, you go back and appreciate, oh my God, I've been telling my grandfather and grandmother these things that they used to tell, I should be doing that. I mean, those things you would appreciate. So, yeah, Rajas food is for kind of householders, and Tamas is more of meat and more non-vegetarian and stale foods, so they're not really good. So we'll have to still do more kind of get the documentation organized, but it's kind of a high level thing. You know, we'll have to go more research on this. Right? So organic, vegetarian is the next step. So we have to figure the right balance. We need to dig more into our history and find out what is good for us. But most of the time, you know, our diet is balanced, and we do exercise and meditation. I think that's very good for a normal healthy being. Our diet is pretty good. Don't if you're eating idli or sambar or something in rasam or whatever, they are really has a lot of nutrients which can easily digest and which can transform. The 7 transformations are respected. So these are designed by scientists who really know about the body and who really know about the mind. So so we have to kind of dig that up and appreciate that.
The only thing is those scientists are the scientists who identify the items that is still not identified by the modern science.
Right. That's what our job probably. We have to kind of we have to start. The movement has already been started by Dr. Shanmurthy in kind of promoting the science. So we will continue that effort, and I think that's the effort we're going to do it in the APNA conference, where different people are meeting from different places. So we want to talk about all these things and formalize this so that it's a science that can be developed and given to the whole world. It's a parallel science which we can build. So organic food is expensive, but it is but cancer is more expensive. So or something else is more expensive, right? So disease is expensive. If you go to the doctor, you pay for that. So don't shy away from buying those. I mean, you're going to pay heavy cost because ultimately you have to be peaceful. This is over time you'll be okay, but I feel that I think we should be able to manage these expenses, right? I think it's not too bad. Let's say I think it's probably if you're maybe $1,000 more over the year, maybe, but eventually it will pay off because you're thinking, it will affect your thinking. You probably make more money to compensate that. Something to think about. So, Environmental Working Group, they have it's a good website which lists out the food types. There are dirty dozens, like 12 food you should completely avoid which are non-organic because they are loaded with pesticides. Apples, strawberries, grapes, celery, peaches, peppers, nectarines, cucumber, tomato, hot pepper. All these are containing, this is a dirty dozen. Never buy non-organic food on this. You are taking all these karmas. Even if you go and do a charity tomorrow, it's not useful. You're going to, and if you donate this, don't even donate non-organic food to anybody who's wanting that because you're going to pass that. It's full of these things. You're going to cause more harm. Corn is the worst offender of GMO. It's 99% of what you eat corn in the United States is genetically modified. So don't eat corn which is not organic. Corn-based products, high fructose corn syrup, all these things, anything corn-based is genetically modified. So
Unless if you see non-GMO certified or
Certified.
something on
Yeah.
those lines. And you can add canola.
Yeah.
90% is canola oil
You know,
is popular.
soy is also soy-based products. Chinese food, if you eat, you're eating genetically modified food. Soy, soy milk, unless it's non-GMO project verified, don't eat soy products. So tell you the truth, I stopped both corn and soy for 1 year.
In Trader Joe's corn, organic corn is really good. In Trader Joe's.
Yeah, so yeah, it's available in trade as well as in even in Whole Foods. Organic corn is available in soy also. But for me personally, stopping these two, because I used to drink a lot of soy milk, stop that, and corn. A lot of corn we used to have before, stop both of them.
How
Non-organic.
do
So
you get the protein? You are not
What's that?
eating egg and soy.
our protein is pretty good for I think our dals and all that.
Lentils.
Yeah,
and-
growing the lentil, that's what we would grow that.
Sambar.
No, we grow that.
Sambar and the sundal.
Yeah, those kind of lentils and all we.
You have to grow that.
Sprout.
So that's the only way you can get protein because you are eliminating other.
Yeah.
Lentils by itself has it.
Yeah, protein, lot of protein.
And in the ancient science, there is no kind of you have to eat this much protein and all that. It
This
is
is
a
the-
completely different science. So if you people have lived and people have done a lot of things. So if you ancient science is based on these 7 transformations that I talked about, and it goes through probably further details on different types of food, but they don't know about
Carbohydrate,
protein and all that. That's a different science.
Why is GMO considered bad?
Why is GMO considered bad? You are changing the way nature is basically the seed. You are kind of injecting something into it and modifying the pattern, which you don't know about, right? You are playing with it. You don't know. You don't know how that's going to react because you don't know the. If you know about the ancient science, then maybe there's a possibility to kind of mess with it. But you're messing with the core existence of nature, how evolution is formed, and injecting something to it without knowing the consequences deeply. It's premature to do that. And it,
One recent example
The rats are getting
I
cancer
read is like-
with the GMO foods. They find it. There are many pictures. This is not like even not even weather thing. Even in American research, they eat the more rich in GMO food. The rats are like this. You get all kinds of bulging and skin problems. They know that somehow they are trying in humans because humans are not affected. They keep playing.
I have a lot to say about it, but let me put it in this perspective. He's the company who had, DDT and all the, good stuff, meaning not good stuff, and then conveying that it is not harmful, and all the later found out that it is harmful. Is the same company who brought the cows, antibiotics and all those things, and later banned from market, almost banned from market. It's the same company. Why would you want to believe this company who goes to the old Bush and try to influence the FDA and all that, saying that this product, this is GMO, is really nothing different from natural. So FDA, please don't consider it for any other test. So let it go to the market easily because it's not different. But he goes to the farmer and tells, this is scientifically altered. So you have to pay me royalty, only then you can use it. Not only that, if he contaminates his, his pure ones get contaminated by his or her seeds, and he claims the right to sue that person that he is using my technology. So can you believe such a company that that company is doing the right thing for the population? What they're trying to do is they're trying to monopolize the seed industry so that they control everything worldwide. I mean, it's not just America. I have a very beautiful video. You can take a.
That was good. I was just understanding pesticide, insecticide, I understand.
Okay.
Because you are doing some farming, badly.
Right, right.
Okay.
So,
And how do you compare that with
So-
GMO?
So what in GMO, what they are doing is, instead of putting the pesticides, they are altering the gene, DNA of the gene,
Right,
and then making it as grow more.
understood, yeah.
So it is you are breaking the nature by breaking the gene. Like one example, like the apples, when you cut and you keep it for a while, it gets brown. So what they found out is, like, so the food people who do the cutting and itself, so they spray some oxidize over that so that it will not get that brown. They found out that they can modify the gene to put more oxidize inside the resin. So when that apple, when it grows and you cut, it doesn't get brown. So you are breaking a natural process.
Think about it, which tree want the seedless fruit? If you are a tree, what is your goal? So you tell the seed, no, you should not reproduce, okay? Because it's hurting my stomach, my teeth. So you give me a seedless watermelon, this is all against nature, right? So what you are injecting something. So a seedless itself is like you change it, you make it impotent. You change the whole behavior, then we don't know what kind of nutrition will be there. Because you can understand, every tree wants to grow. That is a very good.
I think you're running out of time. That's it, I think. Or last one, I think there's one important thing that. So Mantra Organics is there. Go ahead, please. So Indian food, I mean, it's plenty of organic food now. Choices. Mantra Organics, pretty good. You go to Apna Bazaar, I think other Indian markets started to sell, but Apna Bazaar has been really kind of championing the cause of getting more organic food here. So a lot of new products. Every 2 weeks I see new product.
Sometimes Indian organic is not organic.
Again, they're certified,
Just mind you want to believe and take it.
but at least they're certified USDA. They're certified by USDA, so they're both Indian and US. There's a process they're following. I'm hoping that it's all good. So that at least that's a good
Like at least
starting
in
point.
this country it is certified, so we can go with it. Backlink.
So it's USDA certified, so no worry about it. It's the same certification process.
But that's why New Jersey they try to grow them, so they didn't even believe it requires a lot of effort for us people.
And other places too. Alrighty. So in summary, I mean, again, 2-4 moral principle is important. Jiva Karunya, of not hurting anybody. 6 temperaments, maneuvering that using the introspection techniques. And make a choice to use ancient Indian lifestyle. In general, that will help your way of thinking. A lot of our ancient practices have science behind it, so appreciate that, and will help you in your spiritual growth. You're doing meditation exercises. Family harmony is important. Without that, there is no organic thinking. There is fighting between each other. There is no organic thinking. It's just not violence. Sustainable practices. In agriculture and maintaining the environment and all that. Connecting with good scriptures will help you in reinforcing those thoughts. And lastly, this is something that deeply impacted me when I'm reading the different sages, what they are saying. After I read Maharishi and I'm reading these people, it creates a bigger impact. So I'm going to close with this. This in Tamil I'm going to explain to you. எங்கெங்கிருந்து ஏதேது வேண்டினும் அங்கெங்கிருந்து அருட்பெரும் ஜோதி, which means wherever you are, whatever you want, the consciousness will provide it to you. So want organic thinking, want that thought of non-violence. The consciousness which has love and compassion will give that to you. So with that, I want to close this. Thank you. Be blessed for everyone. We'll close with the word peace prayer. Rain may pour on all parts of the world timely and sufficiently. Food grains may grow to the satisfaction of all living beings. Leaders of all nations may grow spiritually and do good service to humanity. May the whole world enjoy happiness, prosperity, and peace. May the whole world enjoy happiness, prosperity, and peace. May the whole world enjoy happiness, prosperity, and peace. Be blessed forever.